only living proof of aliens is Elon Musk.
Like Mizithra? I
That
can
didn't
pronounce
even
that.
sound edible, urethra, and we all know how that went for you. So
Mizithra rhymes with urethra. That is the longest stretch. Boy, you must be preparing for the Olympics with a stretch like that.
were you close enough to see the Travis McGregor incident, or Travis Kelsey? I'm sorry, he was just throwing haymakers. How you been, buddy?
Man, it has been a week. Oh,
VBS.
VBS, man. Fun, exhausting, but oof, long days.
I see that beard's coming in though.
It's trying to. How's
It'll
it
get
look?
there. It
Look
looks
okay?
fuller than it ever has. Yeah. I
Wow,
mean, I
thank
like how
you.
you've taken that trim tip that
Yeah,
I gave you.
yeah, I'm trying to follow it pretty good. I like it. It's pretty easy to follow.
It does look fuller for sure.
Well, thank you.
The mustache is definitely fuller. I wish my
Wow.
mustache could grow out longer.
Gosh, I wish this thing would throttle back. It grows so much faster than everything else.
Just don't ever forget to oil that. That's
Oh,
what I
trust
always
me. Yeah, I
forget
always
to do
oil
it.
it. Oil it like crazy. Oh.
But no, you had VBS, you had no, that was all you had that for that big thing. I
It's
got the Bridal
VBS in the
Expo.
evenings and work during the daytime, and oh gosh, man, I had a big assignment last week on all sorts of good stuff, man.
And you
Was,
got it done on the very last second, I'm assuming.
Bobby, I would take offense to that, but it's just accurate. I need, my brain needs a certain level of pressure to perform. I don't know why. It just does.
Do you believe that, or do you think that you actually perform better? Like,
oh, I genuinely believe that. Like, the creative juices flow so much better when there's pressure. So I have to create some sort of demand. And that
I don't
usually
get
is
that at
talent.
all.
It's just the way my brain works.
Well, I was at the Bridal Expo this past weekend, so I don't have any memes this week, so we can just wing that.
Tell me about the Bridal Expo.
There's really not much to tell. I'm there and I'm gone. So like at the same time that we were working at the Bridal Expo, the Congress released that there are aliens. So I mean, I kind of put two and two together that like brides are aliens. So our only living proof of aliens is Elon Musk, 100%.
So you think
nobody can
Elon's
deny
the
that.
alien? So does that mean Zuckerberg's the lizard person from like under the earth?
I don't think Zuckerberg is as smart as Elon to really say that he's anywhere on Elon's level. Like, Elon's on another level than everybody else. The dude runs how many multi-billion-dollar companies?
Oh, several.
Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter. Well, I mean, I don't know how much that's worth. And then he's trying to work on...
He kind of plays with fire sometimes.
He what?
He kind of plays with fire sometimes.
But he's kind of like you. He does stuff. He's probably not an organized physical person. Mentally, he's probably very organized.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the dude's a very average living individual. Like, he doesn't have, like, a mansion or anything like that. And he has the most unique name for a child. Did you know he makes his, like, girlfriends that he used to date, like, make them dye their hairs to a certain color? Like,
I did not know that.
Whatever he was feeling, apparently, that's what he wanted them to dye their hair to. That's bizarre.
Like, a little bizarre. His behavior is a little on the bizarre side, but his brain is brilliant and his ideas are always very futuristic.
So is his internet a part of SpaceX, or is that a total separate company?
Total separate company.
Okay, so there's another multi-million-dollar company.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. So to say Zuckerberg's even something that you could compare the like, yeah, I'm not. Don't get me wrong, he's smart, but he's not Elon smart. Elon is like just saying the word Elon or Musk is essentially giving somebody a IQ score. Like you're not Musk level, and then below him, I really don't know anything about anybody else that's smarter than him,
Is
except
that
a
a common
scientist or
phrase?
NASA.
This for NASA. Yes.
But no, like who, like when you think of smart, Elon is literally the first person I think of, and then probably Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's on that level. He could be an alien. I mean, he hates to. It's not that he hates to talk about him, but he refuses to admit that there's a possibility they're there. He's almost diverting people to like ignore the fact that like I for one have always believed that there's something out there that's always outside of us, but are they these giant green monster things? No, but there are aliens for sure. They're alien to us.
So your conclusion from all of those reports is that there was verifiable evidence that alien life forms exist.
Oh, I don't believe anything the government tells us. I mean, is it true 100%? I don't believe that to be the case, but I do believe that they aren't telling us everything for sure. But the stuff that they're willing to tell us, that's what we should for sure be worried about. Because if they're going to tell us that, why wouldn't they tell us if JFK was killed by our own government? That's just dumb.
Oh, that's
No, but I'm saying
that
that's a
causes
bigger
us to
question
lose
for
faith
me.
in
I would
government
rather hear about
institutions. That's
that.
a whole different thing.
Right, but I would rather hear about that, and I would rather them either admit that and prove whether or not it is or isn't true versus tell me that aliens are real. Because them saying it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah,
It's just like saying that they were Santa Claus. Doesn't mean nothing.
I think they'd rather just tell you that there's aliens.
Exactly. Because what
Mm-hmm.
else are they doing that we're not watching while this whole court case is going on? That's just stupid. But apparently they're real because the government said so.
Well,
Do you believe they're real?
so here's the thing. I played devil's advocate there, but I absolutely think there's a possibility they're real. I don't think there's anything that indicates they couldn't be. I don't know.
Have you ever have you ever tried to, I guess, since you study the Bible pretty
Mm-hmm.
regularly, have you ever tried to find any evidence in the Bible that they talk about it or anything like
Sure,
that?
but
Or is there anybody out there?
sure, and there's plenty of conspiracy theorists out there that'll tell you aliens are mentioned in the Bible and stuff like that. Some go as far as to blaspheme and say that Jesus was an alien. And it's like,
Hmm.
there's nothing in Scripture that says that they couldn't be there. But if they are, it wasn't relevant enough to our creation to tell us. Um, Now, with that said, we see some incredible, like, it talks about some incredible images of creatures in the Old Testament angels, angelic beings, Sephirim, cherubim, things like that. And it's like, if God's creating those things, an alien is, like, to us, is just another species of creature. So ones that have, advanced knowledge as a precursory species that God created, so be it. I mean, there's nothing in Scripture that doesn't indicate it couldn't exist. It just wasn't relevant to our creation and our relationship with the Creator.
I just never really, I guess, paid too much attention to people that say that the Bible says that or not. I mean, I wouldn't call that a conspiracy. I would say that it's more digging than a conspiracy. Comparing like scripture to what we would say says that there's aliens or not. I mean,
No, it's not
I
so much
couldn't say that that's
conspiracy. I call them conspiracy theorists because ultimately you have to stretch a lot and you have to make a lot of things fit for it to explain as aliens. And it's always a retroactive reading. It's always somebody from the 21st century reading first century scripture trying to apply 21st century thought.
Right.
And so you have to combat that and be logical and realistic. You know, people want to read Revelation and read into helicopters and things like that. And it's like, dude, no. Like, there's imagery that we don't understand because we're not first century Jews. We're not the people that it was written to directly. So there's references that we don't understand culturally, that as you study the culture, you can learn some of that stuff. But ultimately, it's the message is there's a spirit in the message that you have to look for, not the letter of it. That's what I'm getting
Right.
at.
And apparently they're claiming that they've known about these aliens since the 1930s, but I mean, I don't know how far back it goes, but from what they say is that we've started noticing UFOs or anything like that ever since we dropped the bomb on Japan. And that's when we started noticing the activity.
Really?
So, yeah, that's really when we actually started seeing or hearing people claim that they've seen UFOs or they've been abducted or anything of such like that, anything to do with the alien realm has been
Mm-hmm.
since we dropped the bomb, because they've really started noticing this activity over like military bases or over water where our navy is at.
Hmm.
So, like, I wouldn't think Oppenheimer would actually go into that. Like, I haven't seen the movie, but if they do try to bring in like alien activity, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. But no, the Bridal Expo, that's when I heard about the whole alien thing, because I don't watch the news. I keep up with my stuff via like YouTube or like clips of stuff. Like, I don't have the time to sit down and watch the news or a court case for sure. But I'll go back and read maybe. But I also don't trust what the news always tells us either.
I follow Representative, I think it's Jeff Jackson, something like that, of North
Jeff
Carolina.
Jackson.
Yeah, he posts on TikTok, stuff like that. But he posted a review of it. It was interesting. He made comments about kind of how certain party members can be about heavy into outrage and kind of put on a face and a front. But he said at this particular meeting, this group who's usually pretty obnoxious about being outrage oriented, because there wasn't a particular angle. He said it was surprising to hear kind of how bipartisan the discussion and dialogue was of it, because there wasn't a way directly to take it Republican or Democrat. And so it was just like people were genuinely curious to know, what do we know about aliens? So,
And which is nothing,
yeah,
really. I mean,
nothing clear, but it says to me, and one of the points he made is there's some evidence that could be shown, but it would have to be done in a classified setting. And so his take was, let's make that happen, because if there's evidence, let's see it. If there's not, and if it requires classified setting, let's make that happen.
right.
But I don't know. I'd want to
And
know more.
and then Neil deGrasse Tyson always makes the claim. He's like, why would they have interest in us, really? And that was his, I guess, argument to, are aliens really sent? If they're real, why would they be interested in us? Which, I mean,
I've
that's
heard
not a
that
really
theory,
good
and I don't
answer. That's not a
necessarily
really
hate
good
that.
answer, though. I don't like
I
the
don't
answer, though,
necessarily hate
because
that.
I think it almost says that we're not that we're not interesting at all, but we're not interesting enough to something outside looking in, which that's not true at all, because we're always interested in stuff that's not pertaining to us at all.
No, but think about it. If we're talking about aliens who have the ability for interstellar travel, we are a species who just 50 years ago got on the moon. We've never actually placed humans on another planet before. Our space travel is just starting. And so if there truly is an intergalactic species out there, we're still too small for them to engage with. And maybe, and I'll point this out, it's interesting that you said it's after the bomb, because it makes me think then maybe there's a concern that too violent of
Right.
a species, that we're not ready for space interaction or whatever.
Well, because they say that the activity goes up when we're running tests, like at our nuclear plants. Like, say we're running drills, like if we were going to get attacked, or if we think we're going to be planning to attack, then when we actually do that is when they actually start noticing more and more activity on those over those military bases, which I found very creepy. Like these guys, it's like us like keeping an ant farm, you know? Like I never had one, but like us looking at ants, like just running around doing what they do, which is they're amazing creatures, but nothing that I could probably sit there and go, oh, this is pretty cool to just sit here and stare at and get paid
But
to do. I would never want to
but
do
in your
that.
day, how often do you engage with ants?
But that's my point. I'm saying I wouldn't find that interesting.
That's kind of my point, though. Is aliens in the same way we're ants to them? So why would they engage with us?
I don't know.
They might be
But
curious.
I
They
don't
might
think,
look down on us once in a while and be like, "Hey, what are these guys doing?" But
right. I'll tell you what I have been getting into, like beekeeping videos. Oh my God. I hate bees, but the way that they have you ever watched like a beekeeper
Bobby, that came
like
out of left field. So
no, I'm saying insects. I'm just using insects because you said ants. I would never want to watch
okay.
a video on ants, but bees, like I'm deathly afraid of anything that stings, but I can sit there and listen. There's this one chick that I follow on TikTok, and I could watch her for hours just because of how passionate she is about this bee stuff. And it's amazing on what I've learned just about what bees are all about. It's pretty bizarre.
Say bees again.
Bees, bees,
Bees,
bees.
bees.
But
You talking like
but
spiders on the field?
but this chick goes with nothing on, doesn't get stung, and gets like this hive of bees out of like barns and crap, finds the queen, nests the queen, and has those bees. Like it's a whole process. It's intense.
Yeah, dude.
It's
She
I
gentle.
wouldn't do it.
She
Yeah,
gentle. It's crazy.
it's I have more compassion towards those beekeepers now because I realize what the bees are actually doing for the world. It's pretty crazy.
Dude, bees are a critical part of our infrastructure
Right.
as a planet. The
The
pollinators, oh my
farming.
goodness, yeah.
Oh, like us living in Kansas, like you would think like we wouldn't know anything about bees, but like you would think that they would have like a cosmosphere like place to go to just about the farming aspect of what bees bring to our land, Iowa, anything that has big crops, anything like that. It's pretty
Hmm.
crazy. Pretty impressive. It's like the bees of space,
Well, and then
cosmosphere
honey. Oh my God, honey is the oldest, oldest form of medicine we have.
of medicine.
Yeah, dude, honey was used as form of medicine for
I didn't know that.
years. It always has been for
Hmm.
sore throats, things like that. Even I think making salves.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, bees, and they've got so many thousands of different species of bees. It's insane. So I don't know. I mean, I get why he said it, but like us dropping bombs, that's kind of like why I was like, that's not a good answer because if I was going to drop a nuke on somewhere, somebody's going to start asking questions, whether it be aliens or the government. They're going to come around looking.
well, I could definitely see two massive nuclear weapons going off, catching the attention of a interstellar species. I mean,
For sure. Because
but
I mean, what we do here, I'm sure it has to affect them at some point.
or at least get noticed. I mean,
For sure.
big. That's a big flash of light from the planet.
Right. I
That
wonder
half the grid
what
want to
it
come
actually
check
looked
that
like
out.
when that happened. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, did you see all the videos of like all the SpaceX stuff coming through Northeast Kansas? That was pretty crazy. Like they're rolling in, man.
Yep.
And I think they're going to Austin. I think that's where they're shipping it all to, or that area, somewhere down in Texas.
Down in Texas or down in Florida? Because SpaceX is down in Florida.
Oh, is that where it's at?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that it was actually in like the Austin area.
No, down in Florida.
Where's NASA's main location?
Cape Canaveral, Florida.
And then they have another one in Houston?
They have one in Houston. That's like headquarters. That's like command, ground control.
Okay.
But the Kennedy Center is where they launch from.
Right.
And
I
that's
knew
down in
that,
Cape
but I just
Canaveral.
didn't know, like...
And SpaceX's
Okay. Have you
hangar.
been there?
Yeah, dude. I got to go for a couple of years ago. I have pictures all over my social media. It's so fun. Oh my gosh, I nerded out like crazy.
And you met the one astronaut, but it wasn't at NASA? It
No,
was...
yeah, Dr. Bernard was at the Missouri School Board Association, weirdly enough, but I definitely got his autograph. So,
Any
yeah,
other astronauts that you've met?
I have not, but I want to. And I have now 2 connections if I ever go down to Houston to get in at ground control on kind of a personal level. Number one, Heather's uncle was part of the team who designed the spacesuits and put the spacesuit on Buzz Aldrin, or maybe it was Neil Armstrong. I can't remember, but one of the two from the original thing. Her uncle was like she has a picture of him putting the spacesuit, the backpack on. I think it's Buzz. But yeah, so their family's still connected there and can possibly get in. And then somebody I met at CIY, weirdly enough, her husband is an engineer for NASA. And they happened to profile stalk me on Facebook when I was coming in. And she saw the NASA picture, because that's my Facebook profile picture, is me with NASA, the NASA logo behind me.
Right.
So she saw that picture and she said, "Oh, have you been to the space center?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge, space nerd." I said it was actually what I wanted to do before going into ministry. And she said, "That's so weird because her and her husband were also Ozark students, and her husband, instead of going into ministry, found himself in an engineering career that led him to NASA."
Did you tell them a story that led up to the Duke,
Yeah,
like
yeah. So
scholarship offer?
I told her how things kind of worked out for me, and she said, "That's so crazy." She goes, "Well, honest to goodness, save my number and put in there, NASA stuff like that." And she said, "And when you come to Houston, call me, and I'll have my husband get you in for like a special tour or something like that." And I was like,
I
"You have
would go
no
to see that.
idea." I am so pumped to make that happen. So pumped. But
That's dope.
yeah.
Hey, before we move on,
How many times
see,
do you think? Oh, I was just going to ask you a question. How many times do you think, as kids, we went to the Kansas Cosmosphere? How many times did I drag
as
you
a
along to that?
kid, before I answer this, make sure your echo cancellation is off
Oh,
or on.
yeah, it's on. Am I
Okay, I
echoing?
was just making sure. Just a little bit, but I think it's me coming through your speakers.
Oh, okay.
As a kid, I would say, I mean, we went for field trips, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
say maybe I went a handful of times just not by myself, but free will without going to school. The only thing that
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed really going there was to watch like the Dr. Goddard's lab. I liked that.
Dr.
But what
Goddard's
I
Lab was
what I was
always cool.
actually yeah, I mean I think it was probably the physical science aspect of it. Like it wasn't like you're not watching something like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't feel like you were necessarily learning, but you were. Just like the scientists that we used to watch as a kid.
Bill Nye?
Bill Nye. Yeah, like that's what it reminded me of and I really enjoyed that. So I would say I've probably been to the Cosmosphere just being a resident probably 50 times. And it's free to us. So, I mean, the museum's pretty cool to go down there every once in a while just to see what they've changed.
Pretty sure I could close my eyes and walk through that museum in my head.
I could not.
I remember spending hours just reading through all the different little things about the space race and
The World War II, like it's like a little memorial down there, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
That I liked reading that stuff because there's like stuff about cantons in there about the World War II that I like to kind of catch
I
up
always
on. That
thought
was
the
pretty
section
cool.
of the Berlin Wall was really cool.
Oh yeah, and the audio recording like of
Mm-hmm.
people cheering and stuff like that while you're walking down
Mm-hmm.
there. Wasn't that the Berlin Wall one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was the Berlin Wall or if that was the Great Wall. I couldn't remember.
No, I'm pretty sure that's Berlin Wall. Yeah, the one that got tore down, that was East and West Berlin.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like I just rewatched the Tom Hanks movie where he acted as he's a lawyer. He was acting as the lawyer for a Russian spy, and he goes down to Russia or to Russia to, I guess, organize a trade with one of which for two of our people for one of theirs.
Hmm.
I forgot the name of it though. I just rewatched it too. It was pretty good. I'll have to get that to you. I enjoyed it. But I was thinking about you the other day because I don't remember you ever really being into the science thing. I just remember you really being into math and really involved with math, but not really science. And that's really where I like when I think NASA, I don't necessarily just strictly think math at all, but like a little bit of physical science and
So you're right in that, like, natural sciences weren't something that I got super passionate about. Like, I did okay in earth science, biology. Like, I did good in earth science, biology. I think I got a B in, stuff like that. I did okay in all that. Physics in high school, I fell in love. I don't know if you remember this. I scored 106 in that class.
I do not remember that.
Yeah, I scored 106 in that class because my teacher graded on the bell curve, and I set the curve every time. And I loved every inch of the material because it was like light bulbs were popping off in my head every day because it was explaining the world around me in a way that finally started to make everything make sense.
Hmm.
It was the
Did you
idea
ever
that
take the SATs?
not the SATs, just the ACT.
I just didn't know if you scored like a crap ton of points. I know the ACT you scored pretty high on, didn't you?
Yep, yep. I scored high in math and science. If it weren't for my social studies, I would have had a higher overall score, but I still scored pretty high.
Well, social studies, that wasn't even really social studies. Wasn't that graphs?
Mm, it was more like a what was it? It wasn't the graphs. That was the science side. I did great on that.
I thought there was one of them that it was the subject had it, and the actual test part of it had nothing to do with the subject. Like it was weird. Was it reading maybe?
Maybe reading. I felt like it was a social studies thing because it felt more like history. I can't remember,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
it wasn't
social
like a.
studies, hmm, maybe it
I
was
don't remember. I
geography that
just
it was,
remember I
but it
didn't
was more
test
social
very well because
studies.
it was reading comprehension kind of element is what it was, and it was I didn't score well on it.
Well, nothing to really be upset about. I mean, you did walk out on the class because you knew you were going to pass with a B. So,
I've
I
done
mean,
some interesting things.
that was an elective class, though. We didn't need that class either. It just, I guess, bumped your GPA down a little bit, but you already knew where you were going anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, by that point I had already made my commitments and everything.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I don't have to be here, right? Cool.
Well, just to ask the question was pretty ballsy. Like, so if I just didn't take it, how much am I losing here? He's like, 1 grade. He's like, see ya.
It's 10%. It was like, I have an A in here.
I'll take a B. What's
Then
the
I'll
worst
take this
grade you ever
Primal.
got?
I failed a class before, but never intentionally. Um,
I was unintentional that you failed.
mm, it was timing. I was taking online classes and they didn't work with my work schedule. I wasn't able to keep up. So, but outside of that, now I think the lowest grade I've had a D in a couple of classes, but usually C's. But B and A is by far been my average most of my life.
Like that was the most appealing thing to me. I think about Ozark is that was the first college and I still today think that it's the only college that it doesn't require you to take math.
It's not.
It's not
It
the only college?
absolutely. No, I'm saying it's not that way anymore.
Oh, you have to now?
Yeah, it has math classes now.
Oh, God.
They're not
I wonder
super
if the
complicated. It's base level stuff, but yeah, they do have math classes now.
still today I struggle. Like, when I heard that they didn't take math, that literally, like, you and physics or whatever it was that you took, was it physics? You said
Mm-hmm.
light bulbs were going off. That's what happened to me when I heard, oh, you don't take math here. If you want to take math, you can go over to the other colleges. It's like across town to take that. And I was like, who would ever want to do that? It's a foreign language, and I don't understand why it should be. I get the like reasoning behind like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, but geometry, no. And
Yes,
unfortunately, I had to eat my own
Bobby. Yes,
words.
geometry. You have to know.
I'm saying for it to be forced in college. I get high school, I get that, but I'm saying college. Like if you're not going into anything math,
Yes, even the average person needs to know geometry.
I ate my own words with that one time, and I've only ever had to use one geometry lesson in my entire life at work. A squared plus B squared equals C squared is how you get the measurements for a soccer field. Well, any field really, like that's a straight line field, and that's all I needed it for. So I ate my words once, and I'll admit that. But
How much building do you
again,
do?
building
Yes,
like
with
zero.
tools.
Oh,
Okay,
like
so
I'll fix stuff, but I use a ruler. I don't actually do the math in my head.
you don't do angles. You don't ever have to cut at an angle, anything like that.
Uh, that's why they make the even better tools that do those cuts for you.
Bobby.
It's called a jig.
Oh my god.
But no, I don't like I get reasons to have geometry. I'm not denying that, but like I'm saying for it to be forced, just like Spanish isn't forced on everybody. But yet nowadays it sort of should be because it's one of the most spoken languages in
Spanish
America.
is a cultural language.
I get
Math
that.
is
Math
a
is a cultural language for
universal.
me. I
Math is
can't
a
stand math.
universal language.
Hey, I know what 2 plus 2 is. That's
Yeah, so does everybody. Like that's why it's
well,
universal.
not everybody. Not everybody gets that because some people's bank
They
accounts are still
know it, they
negative.
just deny it.
Yeah. I'll deny ever having to have math. How's that?
Lies.
Oh. Primal Beef Jerky, sponsor of the Chubby Buddies podcast.
So good.
Bo and Devin. Did you see Devin and Gun Bros is trying to open up a firing
gun
range here in
range?
town?
I
Yeah.
did see that. That's
Pretty
pretty cool.
intense.
Man,
What
look at that jerky.
flavor
Oh,
you got?
this is cracked pepper, baby.
I got bacon jalapeno and sweet and spicy.
Mm.
I didn't take it to the bridal expo, and I'm glad I didn't because it was my last 2 bags. But I had 3 people ask me where my jerky was that I had the last show. And I was like, I forgot all about it. I mean, I didn't, but I also wasn't thinking about bringing it. So, but no, Primal Beef Jerky is a sponsor of the Chubby Buddies podcast, and they can be found in 5 states across 400 plus stores. Those 5 states are Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. And if you're not near any of those 5 states, you can get online and go to www.feedonprimal.com. Check out all their flavors, all 6 flavors. Bacon jalapeno, Josh would say, is their best jerky.
Yeah.
I would say that it's good. It's in their top. Now it's in their top 3 since I haven't had teriyaki in a while. So,
Dude, teriyaki's climbing for me. It's climbing. It's so good.
I almost, when I'm eating their teriyaki, I forget that it's teriyaki because it doesn't have the, like we've said millions of times, that it doesn't have that general
That really
teriyaki
potent
flavor.
soy taste. Yeah.
Yeah. And it
So
doesn't,
good.
it has a bite to it, really. It's almost like an original mixed with a little bit of a bite twist, like teriyaki. It's almost like General Tso's spicy chicken teriyaki. if that's a thing. Not the teriyaki part. If you take the teriyaki out, that soy like we were talking about, and just have a little bit of zest to it at the back end of it, because it's not too hot on any of them. So, but it's not your general teriyaki.
Oh, so good.
But if you go to www.feedonprimal.com, check out all 6 flavors, put those in your cart. If you add all 6 flavors, you get to a $50 cap. And then all you have to do is plug in a promo of the word chubby, that is CHUBBY, for 15% off your order. You will not only save 15% off your order, but if you reach a $50 cap, you will get free shipping, and that is the equivalent of the well-known math guy here of at least one free bag.
Free bag, baby. We getting that free bag of jerky.
We're waiting on those meat sticks to come out for sale now.
Let's go. How do we put in a polite but firm request to
a polite but firm request?
Yes, by no means not to Primal, but to the branding company, so that we can get the ball rolling on things. Because I'm hungry for these meat sticks.
And I think that would still be Primal. I bet you if we messaged Bo, he would have an answer for us the next day.
Oh, you should message Bo. Bo, I love you, man.
I think you've talked to him more than I have over Facebook.
Maybe I should message Bo. I think I will. Bo, I'm going to message you, which means you'll probably have heard from me before this doesn't. If you don't, reach out to me, because that means I totally got distracted and I have the brain of a squirrel. So, you know how
I'm going to message you anyways about that movie, and then about something else that I wrote down. So I'll make sure to tag that in that text.
Nice. But no,
and you have that,
you're so good. I want to know how we're doing. I want a progress update.
But they are changing their name to Rage Jerky before too long. I'm not 100% sure when that's going to take into effect, but hopefully before it happens. I mean, he's the one that let us release that he was changing his name to Rage Jerky live on YouTube back in April. So that was pretty dope. We released that, and that's just the first step at them putting their meat sticks out there, just because they can't use the Primal name with the meat sticks because it's already copyrighted and all that. So, but no, just head on over to www.feedonprimal.com. And like we said before, you can try all 6 flavors. If you don't want to, you could still use that 15% off promo code, and that is CHUBBY at checkout for 15% off. And also leave a review. I think that a lot of people forget that reviews really do matter. I don't know how many times I've gone to any website like Amazon, for sure. The first thing I do before I even think about buying it, I go on to read like what people say about it.
Always. And I'm always looking at 2 things. I'm looking at the reviews that, like,
I'm looking at bad
ones. Stuff. Give me
good,
solid reviews that are 5 stars and 1 stars and 3 stars. 4s and 2s are fine and stuff like that, but I want to know, like, all of it. Like, I'll check both. I'll check all of it, because I want to know, like, what's the regular thing being talked about, complained about, because you can see you can see where items have flaws when everybody works together to communicate about what it is. Yeah, I rely heavily on reviews and things like that, and then try as often as I can. I'm not great about it, but I try to leave reviews.
I highly read the negative reviews just to see what people don't like about it. That way I can find out if I like what they don't like.
Yeah, because if somebody was to do complaining about isn't a deal breaker for you.
Like dry jerky, people that say that it was too dry. I like dry jerky. That's just what I like. But like on Amazon, if somebody leaves a 1 star, why are you leaving that one? I think the ones that leave the 1 star need to leave a review. Like there should be in order to leave a 1-star review, you should have to leave a review as to why.
Yeah, it should have an explanation. If you're going to give 1 star, explain why.
But I made it a point. I went on to Primal's website back when I first tried them. I left a review for every single jerky that I tried, which was all 6. And it was before the pepper that came out. And I sent it to a friend of mine in Michigan. And he has his own YouTube channel over at Dancy Bearded on YouTube.
Yeah.
He tried all their jerkies live on YouTube, him and another buddy. Absolutely loved it. But I left a review about why I liked the jerky. The only thing that I ever said that was negative is that I'm not a teriyaki fan, but it surprised me when I tried it, and that's what I said.
Oh
And I
yeah,
still gave it a four. I think it was a 4-star review.
love it.
But tell them why they don't like it, because nobody
Yeah,
is going to get better if you don't leave anything, and they're just shooting for gold, and they're blind. So,
for sure.
but shout out Primal, shout out Gun Bros. I really hope that they get that gun range up and running.
That'll be fun,
I
man.
think it'd be really good for the community here, especially since we lose stuff literally every week, like business wise. It's only going to be good for the community. But don't forget to go to feedonprimal.com. I have I've been I mean I've reposted your TikToks of you going to the Chiefs training camp
Training
on the
camp,
Chubby
baby.
Buddies. So I need to
Woo!
get you signed into the Chubby Buddies TikTok so that you can post those videos to TikTok yourself. That way it's going to be an original post. That way I don't have
Oh
to
yeah.
reshare it.
Okay.
So I'll have to send you that information. That way you can switch over and just post videos to both.
Cool.
But I have like, what was training camp like versus like have you ever been to? Have you ever been to a training camp for baseball? How much different is that from football to baseball?
I have not ever been to a training camp for baseball. It is something I want to do. Um, so baseball, I would imagine, is still kind of baseball. I would imagine is still kind of not as well. Okay, I know this much. In spring training for baseball, most of your players don't play nearly as long. Your starters usually play about 3 innings. Then you've got your backups that'll play three. So everybody's just doing these kind of quick bursts. Whereas for NFL, man, you're basically out there. It's kind of practice plus is what I would say it. And it's fun. It's cool. Like where we were at, and I didn't get good video of it at the time, and it broke my heart that I didn't. But we were right in front of the linemen. So as they came up to do drills, I mean, I'm within 10 feet of Creed Humphrey, and I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. But they're running their drills and everything, and so practice is happening. You're getting to watch practice, but it is, I mean, it is practice. So and you really can't expect it to be anything more than that. So you're watching them run drills, you're watching them throw passes, you're watching them run 7-on-7, stuff like that. But then beyond that, there's of course just a bunch of little places where you can do pictures. There was the NFL Play 60 flag football setup, so all the kids had a place that they could go and play and interact. They had a pro shop set up so you could go shop. I got myself a Travis Kelsey jersey, so and a bucket hat. I got a Chiefs bucket hat, so pretty excited about
Buckeyes are awesome.
it.
Before we get any deeper into this, let's do let's do a because I actually have one. Like, let's do like an unguilty shout out that you can't, like, bucket hats, right? That's an awesome shout
Okay.
out. Like, if we didn't have a bucket hat, like, how would you do that? What would you call
Okay.
that?
Wait,
A
like bucket hats specifically, or are you just saying
well,
just
no,
like
just
shout out to these because man, they make
yeah,
life
because
easier.
like yeah,
Yeah, I hear you.
a
Hang on.
shameless bucket or a
Let
shameless
me think
shout out.
specifically about training camp and what was such a lifesaver for
I
us.
got one for you then. Umbrella or
Bro,
towel.
yeah, that would have been valuable, man. But it's crazy, dude. There was nothing on the radar from what I know, and then it just kind of popped up. And I could see it forming about 20 minutes ahead of time, and we were standing in line getting drinks because it was hot, man. It was so freaking hot. And
I
we're
was going
just
to give
sitting
you
there,
my
the
shout
sun's
out
beating
too.
down, and then all of a sudden across the skyline, just 20 minutes out, you can see just kind of the nice wall of cloud building, and it's like, uh-oh. So,
Yeah,
and
my
man,
shout
it
out was going to be
came,
shade.
what?
Shade. Just shade in
Shade,
general. Like,
bro.
moving stuff in 100 and plus degree weather is not cool. But that
Oh,
10-degree drop that you get in shade under a tree or under anything that brings shade, oh, there's
I'm a,
nothing.
I'm a,
It's almost walk. Oh man,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
add to your shout out.
All right.
Shade with a breeze.
Oh, for sure.
Bruh.
For sure. Just
Shade with a
adds to it.
breeze. Chef's kiss.
But no, go ahead. But yeah, that
uh,
storm looked wicked.
Dude, it was wild, man. It just kind of rolled in out of nowhere. So we're in the pro shop. Heather and I had already gotten a few things, and then mom and dad wanted to go in and get stuff. And so Heather had found another shirt she wanted to get me, and then mom and dad had shopped a bunch and gotten a bunch of stuff that they wanted to get. Well, as we're standing in line to check out, it just like you start seeing people leave, and then it gets faster and faster, and then it's a whole crowd, and then the rain just starts coming down. The wind's picking up, the rain's coming down. They lost internet, and so they basically just had to kick everybody out of the pro shop, had them set stuff down. They couldn't take any more orders, and everybody filed out of there. And so basically the way it works is imagine walking kind of along an access road outside of a stadium, or like a college football field or something like that, kind of a big, long, stretching, curvy road. That was basically where we were at. From the curve of the pro shop, you had to basically walk a quarter of a big, wide circle around a stadium to the parking lot. And so there's just this massive trudge of people. Mom, in all of her, just hop along status. I feel bad saying that, but like she's disabled, man. She can't move. And so they carted us up there, no problem. But the exit strategy was not that. There were no carts picking anybody up. It was just everybody was moving to the exit, right? And so mom's trying to like hustle and scoot along, and dad's walking with her, and Heather's like freaking out, and like she doesn't do storms well, man. Dude,
Oh, because of
she's
the.
from California.
I figured it was from the storm in Missouri
It
when she was
is.
in college.
It
Oh, okay.
is. And that's real. That was her first experience. Her first real experience with tornadoes was Joplin, the worst tornado in history. So she doesn't handle storms well, especially when she gets caught by
That
surprise
still
by
beats
them.
out Greensburg.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, dude. Joplin was rough.
But when I
Lot,
saw the picture of
lot
that
of damage, a
cloud,
lot of
or no, it
death.
was a video of the cloud you guys had, and then they were posting it on like the Chiefs website and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It didn't look like just some thunderstorm. It looked like much dangerous weather.
It wasn't that bad. It really
No, it just looked. The
wasn't, but it
clouds
was
made it look
intense.
bad.
It was intense. And
Yeah.
so it was like, and it caught you off guard. And so, like, we were hustling to get to the car, got to the car. Then I went back for mom and dad, got them in the car, and then we got out of there. But we were drenched. And I mean this when I say I got out of the car that night at home, and my back still had, like, was still wet.
And that's a 5 hour trip or so.
5 hour trip, plus we didn't even like immediately go straight home.
Right. That's wild.
Uh,
Did you see
we
Chuck?
stopped in Springfield. So like we're talking 6-7 hours later, I was still wet. Like it was that significant.
Did you see
We were.
Chuck there in St.
I
John
did, yeah. I
or
did
St.
get to
Joe?
see
Sorry.
him. We stopped at a little restaurant downtown called Jake's. Kind of a little bar diner thing, and it was a cool little place. And me and him and Andrea, and then Heather, and then mom and dad all had lunch together. It was real fun. So
Hmm.
they were headed to a birthday party.
So were you close enough to see the Travis McGregor incident, or Travis Kelsey? I'm sorry, he was just throwing
Um,
haymakers.
I was close enough, and really, what happened? I mean, if you see it, you can see what happened. There's no question.
Oh
Cochran
yeah,
goes late for the ball, and goes for the punch out, and Trav just kind of, it gets to him, and he took a
it's
swing at him.
football.
Like the heat, I'm telling you, dude. Just as a fan sitting there, the heat was unbearable. I cannot imagine how these guys are doing it in their gear.
Right.
Like they
I
have
mean,
to be
we've
dying.
just walking in 103-degree weather is crazy, especially if you're not fit. But with probably 25 pounds of pads, and it just adds to that heat. And then when you're on
Yeah.
that field, that turf it pulls the heat into the turf, and then it just radiates off that turf, and it's just twice as bad. It feels like
Mm.
it's bad. So I mean, I can imagine. I just thought it was funny him throwing haymakers like that. That's why I called him Travis McGregor instead.
Travis McGregor.
But like, I get like I mean, football players will be football players, but like the videos that people post, I thought it was. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was Travis being Travis. But they don't put any backstory into it at all after they've
Yeah,
posted
no,
something like that.
and
So
they're
it
always trying to
it
spin some sort of story.
right, and I just knew it was football being football is all it was to me. But it is what it is. But Travis can get heated in little like things, anyways. But I think it adds to the character, especially around the new guys. It's like there's a respect thing involved. But he did
Sure.
it twice, I think, didn't he?
No,
He
it's
did it
just
the
there was
one
another
time.
scrum after the next day between
Oh, okay.
a receiver and Watson, one of our defenders. It's
I
just
saw that
like I
some
said,
lady
it's
died
hot
there.
and guys are getting after each other, trying to make plays, trying to prove that they can do it, and starters are getting frustrated because they're hot. They don't want to like have to deal with tryhards, but at the same time,
And it's the
everybody's
first
got
week
to
of
show up.
practice too.
It's there's a balance, man. There's a balance.
But did you
They'll
see
get
some
it.
lady died on the
What?
second day? Some lady died, and like the medical people that were on scene there had to like use CPR and stuff like that on her. But they obviously I mean they didn't get her back. But like I think she was pretty old, stuff like that.
Dang,
I just saw it on I think it was
I
Twitter.
didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll have to send you that too, maybe. But no, yeah, I was just reading about it. I mean, they don't give you a reason why she died, but I mean, she was pretty old, anyways. So it could have been it could be numerous different things. It could have been heat. It could have been just her age. Could have been anything. But I see your Cardinals are kind of making a turn for good. Well, they were at least there for a little bit, and then
Man, I'll
I
tell
haven't
you what,
caught I haven't
I
caught
don't
up.
know how to feel when it comes to the Cardinals, especially and I don't have all the details, but from what I understand, we just made some trades today. Um
Really? Oh, deadline's
yeah.
in a week or so.
Yeah, deadline's coming up and we traded off it sounds like at least two pitchers and have picked up two pitchers and an infielder. Which I'm excited about because you've heard me complain about pitching all year. And it's our closers. Uh that we're struggling with? Yeah, no, we're 3-7 over the last 10. So no,
Oh,
we're
okay.
not hot.
Well, maybe it was
Um,
2 weeks ago that I saw that. I was just catching up.
we were looking good a couple of weeks ago. We were looking hot, but no, we're back struggling again. But with these pitcher pickups, I'm hoping we can make something happen. I'm not confident that we're making the playoffs this year though, by any means.
Well, I mean, that division is just so close, anyways. I mean,
It's very competitive for sure.
like the Cubs are. Last time I looked, they were 3 games back from first, and they were second to last. So
Did you
I
see the
can't
drama
imagine.
with Mikolas and Hap?
I did not end up seeing it. I saw the after effect. I didn't see what led up to it though. I just saw like the
The
little
after
clip.
effects. Y'all kicked our butts 10-6 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean,
But
the
Ian Happ hit
Cubs.
him. Ian Happ hit Wilson Contreras on his with his backswing, and so Mikolas threw one by his head and then hit him with the second one, and so he got tossed. That got ollie tossed. Then we were basically spending 8 innings trying to pitch from the bullpen. Not a pretty sight.
Well, you definitely don't want that anyways in the playoffs, especially if you don't have a strong bullpen. I mean,
No,
at
but
all.
Mikolas was doing that's old school baseball right there.
Right. Testing the waters. Oh, dang it. I was
I'd be
trying to
curious to
send that to
see
you.
um, how the trades went down because the cards. Let me see.
Well, I hope that the Shohei Ohtani stuff doesn't actually go out. I hope it don't pan out well for the Yankees, just because I don't want to see another stacked team like that. But I mean, if
I'm
it's
with
better for
you.
Shohei, then
I
I think
don't.
that
I
that's
don't want
great.
to see Shohei go. I certainly do not want to see Shohei go uh, to um, the Yankees.
Or the Dodgers.
I could live with the Dodgers.
Jordan
Um,
couldn't. Or no, is it the Braves? He didn't. Is it? I think
we
I don't know if he said
traded.
that.
Okay, so yeah, we got Takoa Roby, right-handed pitcher, and Adam Kloffenstein, right-handed pitcher, um, and traded Jordan Hicks. We also got shortstop um, Thomas Segis. I don't know
How's you
much
guys
about
doing the
him.
draft? Do you know?
Do what?
How's you guys doing the MLB draft? I mean, I know people don't make it a big deal about the draft only because the MLB does it to where like they make them kind of develop before they get into the big leagues. I mean, they make them get even better than what they already are essentially, and then they just either they get called up or they never do. So I just didn't know if you saw anything on your guys' end. I know the Cubs picked
Jordan
up a
Walker's
couple.
really the only guy I'm keeping an eye on. He's our new kid that came up this year, and he's staying hot. Like he when he hits, he's hitting hot. We just suck as a team right now. We're not consistent.
I mean, you
We're
guys
not
had
consistent.
you had a lot of changes just from last year to this year too. So lost your best batter at the time.
Yep.
How's your base? You guys have any? Do you have rookies at first base, second base? I know
No,
your
Paul
second
Goldschmidt.
baseman's
Goldie's at first, so he's solid.
second base is good.
Tommy's no, Tommy's our shortstop. Tommy Edmonds our shortstop. Who's our second baseman? Hang on. Really? Come on, JD. Oh, Donovan.
And
Brendan Donovan. Um yeah.
that down.
Man. So
It's just
many.
really hard. Like you don't realize how hard it is to keep up with just. I mean, football isn't that hard because they only play once a week, but baseball. Oh my
Well,
lord!
baseball to me is a game where football's a game designed. I think football's designed as a game where you're supposed to watch every game. I don't think baseball's designed that way. I think baseball is designed as a game that's always going on and you can tune in and catch, or you can just read the byline and see how your team's doing.
And that's what I think that like people that don't obviously have cable probably do. But like I couldn't imagine doing fantasy baseball. Like couldn't
Oh,
imagine.
that would be the easiest one to play. Think about it.
I think it would be. Well, I'm saying like with the like football, you only have to set your lineup one time for that week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, if you have a pitcher in that pitched one night and you weren't paying it, you have to really pay attention to like pitchers that you
Oh,
have
you mean
playing
just
for you.
frequency wise?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
the
stats
time that you
wise, it would be
spend with the
super easy, but
baseball.
frequency wise, yeah, you're constantly changing your team. That'd be insane.
Yeah, and that's just too much. Like football can sometimes be that way,
Well, I
especially
can't
if you're busy.
imagine. Is there's no way it's that frequent though, right? Wouldn't they
Well,
still do it
if you
by week?
think, well, no, they go by like if you say you have five, I think you can have like X amount of starting pitchers for that week or whenever the play the week ends. Kind of like in fantasy football, how you have a quarterback, right? But for
Sure,
baseball, I think you have seven pitchers, so seven possible pitchers for different teams, of course,
sure.
and then you put those people in. But if they start one game and say your last three guys, or like say that the week starts and you don't realize that you still have three guys that started the previous game before that aren't going to start that week, and say you kept them on your bench, I don't think you can change it. Kind of like how you have
Well,
time to change it for football, like
yeah.
before kickoff or whatever. I don't think you can
Mm-hmm.
do that with baseball. I think you actually have to set up seven for each week, and then if somebody gets hurt in the middle of that week, then you're pretty much screwed unless like one of those starters is also a relief pitcher or something like that. It's pretty.
Have to
It's.
look into it sometime.
I just don't. I don't see how anybody, unless you just thrive for fantasy baseball, like football. I enjoy that. I didn't get to play last year or during COVID, so it is what it is. I just wish it was more competitive, kind of like when we were younger. It was funner when we were younger, I think,
Oh yeah.
and that's
I
kind
think
of like
people had
why I
more time
wanted.
for it, so it was easier to be invested in it.
Yeah, and I found a website that does very affordable trophies or belts for like winners. Like $45, you can get a trophy, and then the losers, their trophy's like a toilet seat. We'll definitely have to do that one of these years. A big fantasy football league for Chubby Buddy fans.
Ooh, I like it.
But no, I actually got to watch the UFC title fights on Saturday night while I was in the hotel,
Oh, I saw
and
you
it
post
was
about that. Tell
awesome.
us about it.
Well, since you don't know like many fighters' names, I mean, the my favorite fight of the night was a guy. He's a heavyweight, 263 pounds, I think. Derek Lewis is his name, right? They call him the Black Beast. The dude opens up with a flying knee kick at the very beginning of the fight and just stuns this dude, who's also 263 pounds. So imagine you at like senior year in football, running up to a dude, bringing your knee up to a guy who's 6'3", connecting with his chin and stunning him, and just beating the brakes off of him at the end, and they call it. He's now broke the record for the most knockouts in the UFC, which I think
That's
it's like
awesome.
23 or something like that, I think. But the dude is just, he's the most honest guy behind a mic. So like when he's getting interviewed either by Joe Rogan or somebody in sports, like he's like, "Hey, why'd you take her shorts off?" Like, cause he's known for stripping his shorts down and like doing like a stripper dance in the ring when he wins. But like Joe Rogan on one of his interviews asked him, he's like, "Hey, why'd you take her shorts off?" He's like, "My balls was hot."
Oh my god.
But he rips his cup out of his pants and he'll throw it into the crowd. He'll rip off each glove and throw that into the crowd. And he was up on the stage like modeling and posing for like all the cameras to take pictures. It's just a good time. Like even when he loses, he still has a good time. That's why I enjoy his fights. But the highlight of the whole pay-per-view was the BMF title, which is a bad motherfucker title. So, and it was between two fighters who I wouldn't have thought were the baddest dudes out there, but it was, I mean, I enjoyed those fighters, but it was a hell of a knockout to watch. And in my opinion, it was one of the best knee kicks that I've ever seen in the UFC. It's
Hmm.
very, very comparable to another one I've saw, but I think this one was more, I guess, of a surprise because we were expecting them just to box and wrestle, and this dude just
Okay.
comes in with a fly, like a just a side knee kick to the head and hits him right in the neck just to shut his brain off to his body for 2 seconds, and then the match was over after the second round.
Dang.
So really good card. Even the undercard had amazing knockouts, just one hit knockouts with a kick or a punch or whatever. Had one tap out. It was just a good title, or not title. It was a good card all around. So anybody
Good.
that ended up watching it got what they paid for. So
I think fans always enjoy that. Fans always enjoy when there's competition all the way through the card.
well, it's like when we talk about wrestling, like you have the Attitude Era. Imagine the Attitude Era, and that's in every single UFC fighter because they're going to try to prove their worth at winning. Like, great, it's great to see somebody who's quiet and they go into the octagon and just stun the world with just this humbleness about them, and they knock out the other person. But it's just as good, if not better, to watch somebody sit there and talk smack about each other, and then they just go and waylay on each other for 5 rounds or however. It just gets your. I scared Jamie. She was laying in bed next to me, and the last fight happened and second round had just started, like I want to say maybe a minute into it, side head kick, and I just scream, and Jamie was asleep, and I scared the shit out of her. I got really
Oh,
loud.
man, that's funny.
Like I get excited when I see like it's fun to watch people succeed, but it's also even funner to watch people problem solve their way out of something. So in the UFC, which I will also say that here's another aspect of why it could be hard. You don't ever know what the score is in the middle of the fight. So you don't know if you're down by points or striking or anything like that. So your ultimate goal is to always finish a fight with either a knockout or a tap out or something like that because you never know how the fight could go, especially if it's you're landing strike for each guy or takedown for takedown and
Right.
stuff like that because you don't know how judges are going to score the card. And that's, I would say that would be another aspect as to why it could be the hardest sport because you don't know if you're down and you don't know what you need to win other than a knockout or a tap out. So I get excited. My blood is like flowing. Like, it makes me want to be a fighter, but I never want to be a fighter. It's like people that have those cool walkout songs, like in the WWE, they also have that in the UFC, and that's Bruce Buffer behind a mic, man. Like, if I could ever have him as my MC just to go about my day, that would be so dope.
I do like me some Bruce Buffer, man. That voice is cool. We grew up on
I
it
just
though, so
I just can't believe how Bruce and Mike Buffer are related because they look completely different, but they sound completely
I
different. I
know.
think Mike Buffer's iconic "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" was cool, but I don't think for me it got my energy boiling to hear that versus "It's Time." Like to hear "It's Time," like that sets the tone. Like "Let's Get Ready to Rumble," yeah, sure, that's cool. Yeah, we
Oh
can
my.
rumble, but let's go. It's game time. It's time to lay the smackdown on somebody. Like, I mean, that's what everybody thrives
You
for is to,
jabroni.
right. Like The Rock, like people that can talk like The Rock in the UFC gets my, I guess, my energy up. It's like another adrenaline dump just to watch that. I really wished you were into UFC as much as I was. Like, I don't know.
Liked it back in the day. I mean, it was fun when I watched it, but
Well,
it's too
back
hard to
in the
keep up
day,
with.
though, yeah, I mean, it can be, but like, I only
GSP.
watch it when it's on TV,
I was watching during the GSP days
which was
when
less
he was
than,
dominating.
and he's looking at coming back. I would
What?
say that was probably, yeah. He's not that old. You realize he's only like 41.
Really?
He's not that old.
I did
I
not
don't think
know.
he's even, I don't think he's over, I would guess,
I was figuring he was pushing almost
no. I
45 or
mean, I've
50.
only seen him get knocked out one time that I can recall. GSP age. How old do you think he is?
46.
42.
Okay.
So he's not, I mean, yeah, he's older for somebody who's in a combat sport, but he's taken so much care of his body
Sure. Yeah.
and he's a humble individual. It's pretty amazing. Like a lot of people, I mean, he's got one of the biggest fan bases, I think, in the UFC
You said
history.
GSP
Probably
is humble?
he is a humble guy. Like when he's
Maybe
talking in
now.
interviews.
Maybe now.
Are we talking about the same guy?
Originally? George St. Pierre.
Yeah, I've never seen George St. Pierre not be humble. Like
Young?
he's the guy.
No.
He bows at his
Still, he
opponent.
was not that humble when he was younger. When he was dominating he ran his. I mean, he wasn't like
He didn't talk trash.
not the way some of them do now, but he wasn't
I don't think you're talking about the
the
same
trash talking.
person.
I am the trash talking game has changed a lot, but George St. Pierre was not like a nice dude. At least
I don't remember seeing him ever say anything or do anything to think otherwise. Like the only
I
person
always
that
got kind of a pretentious vibe from him. He was good,
he's
but like
he's a quiet winner. Like he was known for being quiet. Really, he's one of those like like Mr. Miyagi type. He's very quiet, and his actions speak louder than his words. He's that type of person.
we're
That's
about
why I
to
was
pull up
wondering if
some GSP interviews from back in the day because that
I
is
don't know
not
how
the
you'd be.
GSP that I remember.
I don't remember any GSP interviews where he was talking smack. Could be. I mean, it could have been. I mean, your uncle. Oh, who was that? That was at our church. Miller. Richard Miller.
Yeah.
He's the one that gave me UFC 1 through 10 on VHS, and I took them home. And he's like, "Hey, this." When I saw this, it kind of reminded me of you, and I was like, "Okay." So I took them home and I watched them, and that's how I found out about the UFC.
Hmm.
Your uncle is the one that he said I could see because I was wrestling at the time, and he's like, "Have you ever heard of the UFC?" And I was like, "No." And he gave it to me, and I took him back and I watched him.
That's crazy.
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I still have UFC 3 on the VHS, but one I lost the other ones in a fire at my grandma's, and this one my mom held on to. Like I found it when we were moving her stuff out. Pretty wild. But
Yeah.
no, your uncle is the reason behind my, I guess, passion for watching the UFC. So
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Like, you remember, like, I was always talking about Hoist Gracie, and like,
Yeah.
there is a Royce Gracie, there's a Hoist Gracie, there's so many Gracies out there. I mean, they're literally one of the concrete foundations for the UFC. So, and you always thought that I was saying his name wrong, and I was like, no, there is a Royce, there's a Hoist. It was just one of those funny debates that we always had.
I had heard of Hoist, but never Royce.
Right, but I never saw Royce fight in the UFC. I only saw Hoist with his gi. But that's another thing, like GSP, I mean, he might be, oh yeah, he's Canadian. So, I mean, he's got that accent. So, like, some Canadians, a lot of Canadians can't talk smack because their accent kind of throws it off. It's like, what did he just say? But no, like, yeah, your uncle is the reason behind my liking of the UFC. So I'll give him that. And has he recently passed, right?
Yeah, Uncle Richard passed, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and he was a big supporter of our group. I mean, he was the guy that was known for
the Candyman. He was known as the Candyman at church.
He would go to Walgreens when I worked there to pick up like the outdated candy, like the stuff that was like so many days past due, and he would get the bags for like 75% off from the manager, and that's what he would hand out at church.
Smart man. Kids loved him.
But he is, I guess if I didn't know him, I probably wouldn't have found out the UFC probably for another 10 years. So
I think you'd have fell in love with it all the same, though, because I think it's something you just absolutely love. It's right up your alley.
But I also like the business aspect behind it, because I've grown to appreciate what Dana White has done with being a president of an organization, because you don't see somebody like that in like the NFL or the NBA, because there's a lot of other people that are in charge of those people. And Dana White has had all this free realm of running his company. I don't want to say it's the way you should run your company, but he's 100% honest about what he does, or he's 100%, he backs up everything he says.
Sure.
So, and that's what I can appreciate. Like, if you want to talk stuff, he don't care, go ahead and talk it, but also let him talk and let him also talk trash back. But Dana White, I think, has obviously made the UFC what it is for sure today. So I really do wish one of these days you'll get into it, though. We'll see.
I know. With August 12th being the show, man, there's the big match that we get to promote is Logan Knight versus Chance Kerrigan. Logan Knight being kind of the hard hitter type. He's based out of Oklahoma. He's got a couple of titles from down there, from what I understand. And then you got Chance Kerrigan. He's more the athletic type. He's doing all them high risk things, man. So he's showing off. He's got personality at the wazoo. It's going to be a good match, man. It's going to be real exciting. I personally think Kerrigan's his flash is pretty top notch. If Logan Knight can pin him down, he might get it done. But I got my money on Chance Kerrigan. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But it's going to be a great show. What are the details on getting in the door, Bobby? Do you want
to? It should be the same as I believe last time. The show starts at 5 p.m. So if you get there early, you get that. Is it $15 for the early entry fee? I don't remember the fees. That's what I'll have to ask Billy about.
Fairly certain it's 15, and then it's 10 for regular,
and then 5, and 15 will get you in early at the door. Let you do a couple meet and greets of any wrestlers that show up early, and then you'll get your seat early. You'll be able to buy merch, get your food, whatever else that they're serving there. Also, I think you can also go check out that hotel that they're going to be in. It's one of the coolest hotels I've ever seen. They're at the Leavenworth local hotel. They have a pickleball out back, so if you get there even earlier for the show, I think that they're letting people play pickleball and stuff like that. Don't take that for word, but I saw on Facebook people doing it, so I'm not 100% sure. But the $15 is for the early entry. The $10 will get you in.
That's normal entry.
Yeah, that's
That's
normal
going to be
entry.
normal time, and then
Yeah,
$5 is
as
for first
veterans.
responders.
Yeah, and
Yeah, so
veterans
veterans,
and
first
first responders.
responders, everybody that serves your community. Heartland Championship Wrestling serves you back $5 tickets to get in. So for sure, we love
100%.
you. They support you. They're
And
for you, man.
some of the other matches that they've released on their Facebook is the first heavyweight bout that they have is Aaron Helms versus, I can't even pronounce that, Bruisador. Have you ever heard of that?
Hey,
Bruisador?
I have not, but I'll tell you what, I've seen the Prodigy wrestle once or twice. He's pretty solid.
I
Good
haven't
old
seen
Aaron
him.
Helms.
Bruisador, he's kind of dressed up like a like Rey Mysterio type. He has a mask.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
not 100% on him. I know Aaron Helms. I've met him personally. He's a cool dude. And then Ray Leone versus Tino Valentino.
Ooh, Ray Leone versus Tino? Nice. That'll be a good
Yeah.
match.
And then they have a tag team match. The Howlets versus ACFC. Are you familiar with them?
The Howlets, I'm familiar with them, but ACFC doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. And then I think
Howlets
they
I've
have a
seen wrestle before. They're
challenge.
good.
They've got a few challenges, so I highly suggest going to check out their Facebook to read up on more specifics about that. They put new stuff out every 2-3 hours on their Facebook. They're fast growing, huge community, huge support for the organization that they've started over there, and it has 99.9% has to do with the owner, Billy Simmons. If it wasn't for him, I don't think that it would be as big as it's gotten so far. But
No question, it's the place to go in the Heartland for wrestling. Like, it's family entertainment, and he's built a brand based off of who he is, and that is it's a loyal brand, it's a hardworking brand, and man, it's a brand that's about the fans. So
But a couple more matches before we cut this part out. Chris Vale versus Johnny Faith. They got a lot of big names going on over at the Heartland. That's how many people have followed Billy over to his new organization. And I think that that's it for now. I want to say that they had a who's the gal that they have wrestling over there for them? They haven't
Stormy,
released hers. Yeah, Stormy Daniels. I thought she had a match, but I don't see it on here no more. So
nope,
maybe not.
wrong babe, Stormy
Huh?
Renee,
Oh,
Stormy Renee.
wow. I said Stormy Daniels, didn't I?
You
How about we
sure
cut
did.
out Stormy
Sorry,
Daniels?
Stormy. He was not referring to you, the wrestler.
My bad. I knew it was Stormy. I just didn't know exactly what the
Oh,
last name
that's
was.
funny.
100%.
Oh
That's
man,
a
actually,
clip
it
right
was
there.
really cool, man. They were up in Leavenworth just the other day doing promo work. She was decked out in her gear, out there showing love to the community. Man, I'll tell you what, that's one of the things that impresses me so much about HCW is they're not just a social media presence; they're like a real presence. They get into the community, they love on the businesses, they try to build partnerships and relationships that helps everybody grow. And
They
man,
tried
that's
to
I
help the
think that's what you
community
want
out,
for a community of
one.
organization like that. Somebody who's
And
just going to
another
make all the
thing,
businesses thrive.
right. And another thing about Billy is that, like, he's humble. Like, he doesn't say that he's done all this. He shouts his wrestlers out that, like, Stormy, she's the one that showed up to the meet and greet. Like, he shouted her out because
Absolutely.
she showed up on her day off, full outfit, all that stuff. And she showed up to promote the matches or to promote the whole event for August 12th. So they were I don't know if they were giving out tickets or if they were selling them there, but they were handing out flyers and they got to do it was some cheese expo or something like that that they were at.
A cheese expo and I missed it?
It was on Saturday and you were only 20
Come
miles
on.
away. Fail. You're out there
So
watching
disappointed.
Travis McGregor throw haymakers, not eating cheese.
Yeah, I got a big old block of like English sharp cheddar in my fridge. You'd laugh at me.
I don't mind sharp cheddar. It's the weird ones that I'm not If you can't
I
pronounce it, come on, man.
like Mizithra? I can
That doesn't
pronounce
even
that.
sound edible, bro. That sounds
Oh,
like
it's so good.
that sounds like
Bro,
a
bro.
viral.
Mizithra cheese. Oh man. Okay, look. You need spaghetti noodles. You need brown butter. Do you know what brown butter is? Yes, sir.
I've heard of it.
Got like a nutty taste to it. Um,
Where are you going with this?
Brown butter and noodles, Mizithra cheese on top. one of the best meals ever. So good.
I'm turned off immediately because Mizithra rhymes with the word urethra, and we all know how that went for you. So
Mizithra rhymes with urethra. That is the longest stretch. Boy, you must be preparing for the Olympics with a stretch like that.
I've never even heard the word urethra. That just sounds like a venereal
Mizithra.
disease that you hear in a hospital in low-income housing areas, man. That's not
Bro,
healthy.
it sounds like a Greek cheese. Mizithra.
Mizithra? That don't sound
Yeah.
no Greek. What Greek god do you know wanted the name Mizithra?
God, Mizithra.
What is he the god of? I want to know that. Make up the
The,
god name for Mizithra. What's he the god of? Tell me.
the god of
Don't even
great
tell me
jokes.
cheese. Huh?
The god of great jokes. Get it? Because they're cheesy?
Oh, I got that. But no Mizithra have I ever heard of. I think you probably have to look for something like that. Like, do
I
they
do
sell that
have
at
to go
just
to
gas
Springfield
stations?
to buy it. I do have to
Jesus.
go, I do have to drive an hour to buy it. It's a
Was
specialty
it worth
cheese.
it?
Oh, God, yeah. It's so good.
Okay. Now, I have had cheeses that are like Havarti, right? I didn't know that it
Yeah,
was
Havarti's
pronounced Havarti, of
delicious.
course, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was Haverty, how it's spelled.
Yeah.
But which one's better, Havarti or Mizithra?
Two completely different tastes. Mizithra is going to be really potent, really strong. Um, Similar in the flavor profile of what Parmesan might
Ooh,
be.
I'm not a Parmesan fan. Like the fresh, like shredded Parmesan, I can handle. But the
That's what I'm
canned stuff,
talking
I
about, like
don't
fresh
like that.
shredded stuff. But do you know how like potent? Like, have you ever done like fresh shredded, like hardened Parmesan that's shaved?
At restaurants, like
Yeah,
they've shaved it for me. Yeah.
yeah. And you notice how like how different that tastes, how potent, how strong, and powerful that is.
Honestly, I think the fresh Parmesan has
Oh,
a
excuse me.
very similar taste to fresh mozzarella in a way. Like not the consistency, but the flavor that I get with it.
There's not as
I
much
don't
of
know
a
if
bite with mozzarella as there is with Parmesan, and that's kind of what I'm
right.
getting at with Mizithra. Is it's also got a bite to it.
I just don't. Like. I don't know what cheese it was that Jamie had. She got it from the Aldi or whatever. Like during Christmas, they're big into the cheeses, like the
Oh yeah,
Christmas cheeses and the whatever else. But like, anyways, the cheese that I can't stand the smell of. I don't know if it's the Gouda cheese or if it's what was the one that she had. She was just eating it raw, and it was just disgusting. Like
yeah.
the
Smoked Gouda is
smell.
one that I'm not a fan of.
I don't
I
like
can't
this.
do smoked
I
Gouda.
don't like the smell of Gouda at all. I
I can
also
do
don't like
regular Gouda
feta.
okay, but smoked Gouda is gross to me.
I don't like feta.
Oh, I love feta. Love it.
I do not. And then there's what's the other one?
Blue
Blue cheese
cheese?
is disgusting.
Nobody likes blue cheese,
Ugh.
apparently.
Ranch is why they don't serve blue cheese everywhere.
Oh, man.
But no, any movies that you've been catching up on or shows? I know that you've just gotten busy, but or just got done being
Yeah,
busy, so I doubt that you've had time for necessarily watching shows or movies.
I really haven't. That's the
I want to
downfall.
see Oppenheimer.
I want to see Oppenheimer as well. That's on my list. Sound of Freedom's on my list, too. I want to go see that.
Sound of Freedom. Which one's that? Oh,
Yep.
is that about the human trafficking?
Yeah.
A lot of conspiracy, not conspiracies, but there's a lot of like backlash about the show or whatever.
Yeah, it's got a pretty solid mess. It's got a pretty strong message, and it's there's a culture, man. There's a culture in Hollywood that kind of encourages this behavior, and there's some pushback to it now, and I don't know. I think a fight's brewing.
Well, I mean, like with the human trafficking thing, like that's been a pretty huge topic for 10 years at least now. I mean, you've got people like Ashton Kutcher they've got their own organizations going in to fight these things, and then you have that baseball pitcher. I forgot his name. He's big into it. He was like going in
Mhm.
to trap these people who are kidnapping people and going with like no weapons, nothing like that. He goes in unarmed and risks his safety to prevent human trafficking from happening. I can't remember what picture that was. I was watching. I don't know if you've heard about it, but
I
it was
haven't.
one of the MLB starting pitchers. I'll have to go back and look. Was it Kershaw? Maybe
I'd
might have
like
been
to know
Kershaw.
more. I'd like to know more.
But it's definitely something that needs to be talked about because it's not talked about enough because of how large of a,
Yeah, it's a
I
large
guess,
scale operation, and that
business.
means there's
It's
a
a
lot of people
business.
involved and
It's
encouraging
crazy.
it and supporting it, and it needs to get pointed out. It needs to come to light, and we need to get it stopped.
Right. And you don't, and why are we talking about aliens when you have stuff like this going on every day? Like,
Exactly.
who
That is a
cares about the
great question.
aliens? Like,
Why are
aliens, yeah,
aliens a
that's
congressional
something to talk about
topic
on
and
YouTube.
human trafficking not? It's a fair question, man.
Yeah.
It's a very fair question.
And if people are more worried about that to be brought to light than aliens, then there's things that you probably need to recollect in your life too.
Reprioritize in your life.
It's bizarre. But no,
Yeah.
I don't think I remember the name of it at first, but now that you said the Sound of Freedom, because I remember Jim Caviezel's, is he in it or
Yeah.
did he direct it?
Yeah, Jim Caviezel's in it.
Okay. But Oppenheimer is, I mean, I think at the top of my list that I want to go see. It's just a long movie. The
That's
longest
the
movie I've
highest on my
seen for a
list for
while
sure.
is John Wick 4, and it's I think the same length. But I mean, Oppenheimer's history, and I've always been a fan of the history genre of
Yep.
movies, especially when I hope that it's as detailed that I guess dreamed it to be, because I hope
Hmm.
that they go into detail about how they came up with the idea and like how much how much we had to learn as a country about after the fact, because it's so
Sure.
crazy on what we've done as just in war in general and how we haven't had to use that until then and then we haven't used it since. It's pretty
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah. Kind of a drawing of the line in the sand of as a species we can go this far and no further kind of thing.
Right.
And it's terrifying. I think we all, it was the fear of the 1950s. Who's to say it's not going to be the fear of the 2050s? It's sad to
I'm
say
surprised
that.
it, I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't happened more than that one time. I mean, we've gotten close. Like, I mean, you hear about it in
Bay of
history
Pigs,
class
man.
and stuff like that, but I mean, Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis, all that stuff. I mean, it's just
Nope.
like that's just like what was it going to take to actually make somebody hit that button? Like
Well, I
what
think
could have
that's I
happened?
think that's why people are so cautious about things going on in Ukraine and Russia, because it feels like it could be the tipping point if things go haywire there, that could be a tipping point to something much more significant. Um, and when people are desperate, you just don't know what a country's going to do.
Right, especially with a country that you don't know much about because they're very private about what they do anyways. I mean,
Yep.
you don't know what's going through Putin's head. You don't know what's going through the Ukrainian president's head. I mean, you sort of do because he used to be a stand-up comedian, from what I gather. That's
Zelensky,
bizarre.
yeah.
I don't recall of me ever seeing him do any stand-up, but it's pretty crazy to think that like a country's leader used to be a stand-up comedian, and now he's leading a country through
Yeah, but if
a
he's
pretty
leading it
much
well, man.
another. It's another revolution for that area. I mean, it's
Yeah.
if they lose,
Well, it was
then they
it was an invasion, is what it was. It was an
right.
invasion. It was
But if they
Russia
win, it'll be
coming in.
considered a revolution, wouldn't it? If they
No,
prevent Russia from taking over,
no, not a revolution, just a defense, because it was already Ukrainian property. It was already
right?
Ukrainian land.
And it's changed. Was it twice before this happened?
I mean, it was all. Even Ukraine was part of Soviet Russia, so it's like it's all back to the USSR and stuff like that at its core. It's grappling for power is really what it
Right.
is. And each one of these countries is really discovering that they are their own independent place, have their own resources that can be commodified and traded and exported and imported, and realizing that as a nation they have identity. So I don't know.
It's pretty crazy though when you think about like what's going on over there. This is the first time we've seen from the comfort of our homes like stuff happen on video from our phones like that.
The sucky thing that's coming, and I just don't know how this is going to play out. But the sea grain deal, the Black Sea grain deal that just got closed out. I don't know if you're tracking any of that.
I did.
Russia had originally agreed to allow Ukraine to export grain out through the Black Sea. They've just recently stopped allowing that, and that's going to cause some serious issues in the food supply chain.
Famine.
Um, Lots of famine areas, and so they've already started targeting. I think they've already destroyed like 60,000 pounds of grain in silos. They're at ports, stuff like that. They're targeting port cities now and damaging. They've killed like 12 civilians, stuff like that. Like it's just the attrition of war, man. It's awful.
It's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
we've never seen anything like this go on in our lifetime that we could remember. I mean, yeah, we've been through the Iraq war and stuff like that, but it was never at this level of two countries going at it since
Well,
probably
I
the
don't think we had the
early
access.
90s.
I don't think we had the
Right.
access that we do now. Even in the
No, it was
90s, it
just
was still
news.
news reported. Whereas now, man, I can see on my TikTok videos from Ukrainian soldiers that are posting them, stuff
Right.
like that. Like, that's crazy to me.
But I can't recall of like two countries going at it for like, yeah, I mean, you hear about the African Civil War, like the civil wars that are going on in Africa. Like you hear about that, but that's not a
Yeah, but a
country
civil
taking
war is a
over a country.
single country going at itself.
Right.
And almost so many of those are always religious or racial involved.
Right.
And it's people groups going after each other. This one is a country attacking another country, and that's what makes it stand out so much.
But can you think of another one like this that we've seen, I guess, or that we could have paid attention to on the news? Because I can't.
Not not any sort
Not
of
at this level,
significant,
especially with
but
the
then
power
again,
that they
man,
have. That's
yeah,
so it's history happening before our eyes, just like 9/11 was, just like COVID was,
for
just like
sure.
it's pretty wild. And it was literally just right after COVID. That's what makes it even worse. But I know you got the in-laws coming over. I
Yeah,
appreciate you
I
taking the
do.
time to come hang out.
Of course, man. I love you, dude. It was a lot of
Love you
fun.
too. Yeah. But before we go, just make sure consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, send us a message, leave a comment. It's episode 32, I think. 33? I
Woo-hoo.
don't remember. What did I put?
We
33.
appreciate y'all for being on the journey. Thanks for
Episode
hanging out.
33.
Hope you got some good
Yeah.
snacks and some good quality time together.
Don't forget that beef jerky. Don't forget to check out HCW over there, Facebook.
And get you a bag of Primal Jerky. It's so
It's
good.
6 bags.
6 bags. I like it. Well, guys, have a great, great week.
Yeah.
Bobby, I love you.
Love you too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.